Carl Jung said, "Awaken and shine your light for others to follow. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This is an invitation to move differently in the world, to operate from a place of deep knowing and alignment. I'm Adrienne McDonald, and welcome to the Source Code Podcast. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. First, before we get into today's topic, I want to say, and if you are on my email list, you already know this, my free Human Design Deconditioning Guide is now available for download. Now, this guide will go over the not-self themes of the centers, insight into the not-self of the types and the profile lines, and it gives you some reflective questions and action steps. So I will put that link in the show notes if you have not had an opportunity to grab that. And as always, if you do not have your chart, you can download a free one from my website as well, and that link will be in the show notes as well. So I got a question from a listener asking, what is something that I look at in the chart that's not part of the core thing that people usually talk about in human design? And I guess I took that question to mean like outside of type, strategy, authority, or maybe incarnation cross. And the placement that first came to mind ties into today's topic really well. And today's topic is the messy middle, because I have talked to a lot of people over the past month that seem to be in a messy middle. I've even had a bit of that myself. So what do I mean by the messy middle? It's that state where you're in uncomfortable, often chaotic phase of transition between where you were and where you're headed. And it's that space between the familiar past and the unknown future, that uncertainty where like maybe some old structures or belief systems are dissolving, but new ones, like they're not solid yet. And, you know, we had a lunar eclipse in Pisces this week, and if memory serves correct, it ended a big cycle. I think it was a 16-year-old cycle. And that was big for a lot of people. So an eclipse season seems to be about the messy middle anyway. So, you know, whether it's a career change, a relationship shift, just a period of personal transformation, that messy middle is always full of uncertainty, a lot of discomfort, and you know, sometimes a lot of confusion. And so how do you know if you're in it? So again, there's that uncertainty and lack of clarity. You may feel like you're walking through a fog. The path isn't clear. The more you try to force the clarity, the more elusive it seems. You're not sure what you want, who you're becoming, what steps to take, and that can be very unsettling. And there's this emotional turbulence. It can stir up a lot of that not-self feelings in the inner human design chart. For me, it's frustration, fear, frustration, impatience, self-doubt. All of those are like classic messy middle things that come to the surface. That emotional wave of up and down constantly can really make it very tempting to give up and return to the familiar or avoid change altogether. And there's generally this transformation that includes the disintegration of the old self, like the dismantling of it. It's because when you're in the messy middle, you're challenging your old ways of being, thinking, doing, because they're not working. You're trying to shed old habits or beliefs or identities that no longer align with who you're becoming. And this process of disintegration can feel disorienting. And because you're letting parts of yourself go, or parts of your life, and maybe that was not your idea to let part of that life go away. And you feel like you're losing security and comfort. And at the same time, you're not fully embodied in your new self either, right? The future is still unclear. The new direction hasn't solidified. This liminal space between the old and the new can feel like a void where you're waiting for the next version of you to appear, to emerge. And because it hasn't taken full form yet, there's a sense of confusion and discomfort. And often there's resistance, there's inner conflict. It's part of you wants to move forward, the other part wants to resist change, and if possible, go back. There's this inner tug of war that could create confusion and frustration and a sense of being torn between wanting progress, but also fearing the unknown. And the moments of progress are generally followed by setbacks. I mean, that's why they call it the messy middle, because it's rarely linear. You may have some breakthroughs or moments of clarity only to fall back into confusion or doubt. And progress can sometimes feel slow. And setbacks are discouraging. But it is important. Messy middles are important because they're an essential part of any transformation process. It's that time of inner reconfiguration, inner possibility for rebirth, where you are examining your deepest values, your deepest desires, your deepest purpose. All of that is coming into focus, where the outer world may not yet reflect the change that you are working towards. Your inner world is like going through it, but it's preparing you for that next phase. So again, this is where the growth happens. This is where you build resilient, learning to navigate the uncertainty and discomfort, because that's going to give you the resilience. A teacher teaches you how to deal with ambiguity. It teaches you how to trust the process of life, because all of us go through messy middles. You can't not. And the resilience we build in this messy middles becomes a valuable asset. Not just for, because you're likely to go through many of them. And it helps you cultivate patience and deeper levels of trust with yourself. And it forces a deeper connection to yourself. So part of it, getting through messy middles, is embracing the process and focusing on surrender, the small steps, give yourself some grace, and above all, it's an opportunity to tap into your inner guidance, your inner wisdom. So this is where that placement that I look at comes in. And anytime you're going through it, whether it be the messy middle, or you feel triggered, or you're just having prolonged phases of you feel like you're not self-themed, whether that's, for me, it's frustration because I'm a generator. This is the placement that I go to. And in human design and Gene Keys, it is your design Mars planetary placement, because it plays a significant role in how you navigate transition and triggers. In the Gene Keys, it is your core wound. Now on your chart, the column on the left-hand side, the Mars placement is the circle with the arrow that's pointing out slightly to the right. I think it's the 8th number down. And like I said, this is the vocation and the core wound in Gene Keys. And this placement holds a lot of insight into your inner drive, your shadow tendencies for how you react to things. It also holds one of your biggest gifts in your chart. And by understanding and embracing the energy of your design Mars, you can navigate the messy middle with a lot of clarity and a lot of resilience and a lot of purpose. And let's talk about like what the archetype of Mars is. Mars is all about action, drive, willpower. It's a lot of the aspects that are you beneath the surface that influence your actions, your motivations, the challenges, and throughout your life, there's this theme without you being fully aware. Well, unless, of course, you're, going through this process of looking at these placements. And this placement really influences you during times of transition and upheaval. It's when you're in this phase of transformation, you're likely to feel like you're being pulled in multiple directions. This is having a real dramatic impact on that. It reveals where those emotions are coming from and provides you some insight on how to transform them into constructive energy. Now, in the Gene Keys, like I said, your design Mars it holds the key to part of your life's work. It's also in the vocation sphere. It's the core wound and the vocation sphere. So, with the Gene Keys, we have the shadow. During times of transition, your shadow can be amplified, whether it manifests as impatience, anger, fear, failure. Recognizing your shadow is really, really important. So I hold the 49 in my core wound and vocation. And my shadow is reaction. And I had to laugh because it was like, of course it is. Of course it is. But it was a really helpful, insightful thing to learn because it helps me develop that pause button. And instead of feeling like I need to repress something or resist something, I can take that information and go, okay, what can I do with this energy? And then that brings us to the gift. The gift of your design Mars is the opportunity to transmute those shadow tendencies into an empowered action, right? So for me, my gift in this placement is revolution. And the pathway for that is usually, if I'm feeling like I'm being very reactive, I have to pause, slow down so I can get to okay, let's get curious about this and go from there. Some days that's easier than others. It depends on what's going on. But I have this awareness now that, this is where this is coming from, right? This is the theme that I have to deal with throughout my lifetime in moments like this. And once you become aware of that, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, all right. It makes it a lot easier because that enables me and has enabled me and continues to enable me to see, like, what is the lesson in whatever crap I'm going through at the time, right? So that I can move forward. Now, the city, for me, it offers that glimpse of peace and clarity and higher purpose that's on the other side of the transition. And my city is rebirth. So it's okay, what do I need to do with this so this can be like a really significant evolution of me, right? Now, everybody's core wound vocation is different. That design Mars is going to be different for everyone. But you take the theme of the shadow and the gift and the city, and then you overlay it on top of, okay, what does this mean to my behavioral patterns? How does this work for me? And you'll find that again, it's incredibly insightful, because it's going to give you a window into how you react when you're triggered or when you're in, like I said, the messy middle, right? It gives you that opportunity to recognize your shadow tendencies. It gives you a way to respond differently. And it gives you an opportunity to cultivate the gift. And often I have found it gives me a pathway for clarity out of the messy middle. Because and sometimes that pathway is just patience. Sometimes it's just patience and trust that, okay, I have this, I don't know what to do with this. And trusting that the answer will come, right? I've come to really appreciate the void a lot over the past several years, especially. That's one of the things in my shamanic practitioner training. That was one of the first journeys that happened, was a journey to the void, so that one could sit in the discomfort and also comfort of the vortex there. And it's interesting because the more comfortable you are and the more trust you have with yourself, the easier it is to sit in that place of the void, the in-between stage. In fact, I think I've come to truly appreciate the gift that space can give. Even if I'm not totally thrilled with the timing. But if you're going through it, instead of getting lost in the chaos of transition, you can harness the energy of your design Mars to drive you towards clarity and alignment. And remember, this phase is temporary, but the lessons that you learn during it can shape you in very profound ways. So next time you find yourself in the messy middle, or perhaps you are in the messy middle, look to your design Mars, your Gene Keys core wound evocation, because it can hold the key to transmuting that energy into progress. It can hold the key to having confusion turn into clarity, and ultimately that transition into a real transformation. As always, thanks for listening. As I said, the deconditioning guide is now available for download. I believe this is going to be a great resource for you guys. If you have found this helpful, I would love to hear what you thought on Instagram or Facebook. That would be great, because I would really love to connect with you on social media. Instagram is probably my current favorite. Remember to find beauty every day and seek the magic in the mundane. Thank you for listening to the Source Code Podcast. If you found this episode insightful and feel moved to, please leave a review and share it out with those you believe will find it helpful. You can check out my website for more information at www.adrianmcdonald.com. And for more of my more regular musings, connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. I hope you have a beautiful week.